This is Umar for BoxNation. I'm joined by Frank Warren at its headquarters. It's been a while, Frank. How's life treating you? How are you?
I can't complain. A little bit, it's been a sort of busy summer, and we're working on the shows that we've got coming up. So yeah, it's all good. I can't complain.
Okay. Well, I've come in here, missed a few things. I've been on holiday. I think extraordinarily major, but there was some fairly sizable announcements made by Queensberry. Firstly, though, I've just seen a Tottenham mug in the room.
What?
In the room next door.
I'll tell you what, he'd be fired. He's gone.
Have you employed someone who's a Tottenham?
I didn't, but there is one here.
When I say Tottenham mug, I actually mean a physical mug, not the person.
I don't know about that. I don't know what you're doing.
Okay, Frank, I want to actually start with the Beterbiev-Bivol Undercard. His Excellency Riyadh season announced that recently. I looked at it, I couldn't believe how good the card was, considering what a great fight the main event is itself.
Yeah.
Were you surprised that there's actually people criticising that card?
Why are they criticising it? I don't understand that at all. There's some good fights on there.
We can go through it. So actually the first female fight on a Riyadh season card.
Yeah, and they specifically asked for that. Turkey and the team said they definitely wanted that fight, and that's a cracking fight between Raven and Sky. I don't know what anyone could moan about that for.
It is a fantastic fight on paper, and if you just wanted to add something else, it's Queensberry v Matchroom again.
Yeah, that has a bit of spice to it, there's no doubt about that.
And then, looking at the rest of the fights there, Matchroom have just, of course, announced a deal with Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah.
Joe Cordina goes in there, former world champion, coming off that loss against Kakachi. That's one where if Joe has another loss, you're looking where his career goes from there.
Exactly. So that's a key fight, a tough fight for him, by the way, but it's a good fight. I would say a good fight. It's a good opportunity for him. Whether he can do it or not, we'll find out.
I mean, and Shakur Stevenson is 26, 27-year-old,
Yeah.
three-weight world champion. To have him chief support as a card with Beterbiev-Bivol,
with a fantastic, unification match for the four belts. That stands up on its own, no doubt about that.
Then we go down the card. Chris Eubank Jr. returns. Who would have thought you and Chris would be working together again?
Well, I'd much rather work a bit more with him if he'd have taken the fight against either Hamza or against Denzel, but he didn't want him. Didn't fancy that.
Just outpriced himself, or?
There's two ways to say you don't want to fight: outprice yourself and say you don't want it. And that's the fights that he should be having. They're the fights I'd like to see. But he's on the card, so hopefully it's going to be we get moving in the right direction and we can make one of those fights.
Are you hoping? Of course, this is the first time Chris Eubank Jr. has been on a Riyadh season card. That this is perhaps his introduction to Riyadh season, and from here on, he gets into big, meaningful fights.
We'll see, but he's going to have to fight real meaningful fights. There's no doubt about that.
Okay. What a rematch we've got between your new signing, Fabio Wardley, and Fraser Clark.
Yeah, how can anybody moan about that? That was a cracking fight last time round, and I'm certainly looking forward to that one again.
Well, if this is half as entertaining as the first one, it's still been for a treat.
Exactly. So again, I don't get what the people are moaning about, if they are moaning.
I have seen some outbursts of it, but if someone put this card to you about 2 years ago, it'd be the best card they've ever seen.
Well, it's a great card, isn't it? This is a stacked card. Like all of them are. All the Riyadh season shows are brilliant cards, no doubt about that.
Joshua-Dubois and Jack Massey at cruiserweight.
Yeah, it's an interesting fight, that is.
Yeah, because we actually saw Jack Massey give Joseph Parker a decent fight a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's correct.
But Joshua-Dubois is being touted as pound for pound one of the best out there. So we shall see how that goes. And Ben Whittaker's also on the card as someone with a massive profile. He's an interesting character as well, Ben.
Yeah, he is. He is an interesting character, and let's see how he shapes up out there, and then hopefully he can fight one of our guys.
And he's fighting Liam Cameron. Incredible story. I mean, Liam's been through some very testing times with the drug situation. We've seen people, take PEDs and get 6 months. He took recreational drugs, but looked like his career was over. And now Riyadh season have got him on a card. Incredible.
Well, it's great to hear that he's turned himself around. I mean, it's horrible when people get addictions and so forth, but let's hope that's going to be all for the better now.
Right, I mentioned Fabio Wardley and Fraser Clark. Obviously, you're not shy of heavyweights. This was Fabio's opinion on his multi-fight deal with Queensberry. At this stage in my career, aligning myself with the best promoter is crucial, and I couldn't be in better hands than with Frank and George. Seeing the massive fights and shows that Queensberry have put together over the past few years has really excited myself about the future and what we can achieve together. I'm sure you share that.
I couldn't think of a better thing to say, and appreciate that. Yeah, he's right. He's right.
What do you see in Fabio Wardley, Frank?
Well, he's got himself into a position where he's made a name for himself, and there's some good fights there to be made. And we work with a lot of the top heavyweights in the world, and that means there'll be big fights for him if he does what I expect him to do and beat Fraser out there.
How did you see the first fight?
I thought he won it.
Okay.
I did think he won it.
It's very close, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was close, but I still thought he won it.
Okay. Do you expect him to do a better job on Fraser Clark this time around?
Well, they both know each other now, and they know what they've got to do. So it'd be interesting to see how they both approach the fight. But they should both learn from it. They're not fools.
I remember when you first met Fabio, it was around the David Adelaide fight. What were your first impressions of him, just outside the ring?
He's a really, really nice guy, and he's quite articulate. He comes across really well. I think he's a great ad for the game. He speaks really well, and he's a decent person.
Frank, when you look at your heavyweight roster now, which keeps on building, I remember you telling me years ago you went into the BT offices when you did their deal with them, and that was the actual plan with Queensberry and BT. Obviously, Tyson Fury has been critical to that, but then other heavyweights have followed. You've made some great signings. You've developed heavyweights as well, like Daniel Dubois. See, Moses Itauma coming through. I could go on, but that was always the plan for yourself, for George, the company. It was to base it around heavyweights.
Yeah, well, that was part of it. Yeah, and that was a major part of it. We said we made our intentions very clear from day one, and we delivered on that. And there's some great heavyweight fights there, but we've done it in quite a few weight divisions, and we really focused on the British. That was our original plan, was British. But we've moved now. We're moving in a different direction, and we'll be making some announcements about that fairly soon. There's some exciting stuff happening, and we're and I'm looking forward to it. As I say, it's not like we haven't done it before worldwide. We launched the Showbox series in America. We had shows regularly on HBO and on Showtime for many years.
Okay. Well, before we come on to your international heavyweights in Joseph Parker and Zhilei Zhang, just wanted to discuss two more British heavyweights that you have in Derek Chisora and Joe Joyce. Fantastic fight recently they had. I know you've spoke with Derek and Joe since the fight, so what's their movements?
I haven't actually.
Have you not?
Brief conversation with, very brief conversation with Derek, and we're supposed to meet. I'm hoping we're going to meet up this week. And I certainly had Joe came to a football match for me, the first Arsenal game. And it was a bit difficult, a lot of people there, but we're working on something as well for him, and see what direction we go with that. Because that fight was a cracking fight. Unbelievably tough fight for both of them. And Derek proved me wrong.
That's right. I thought you did catch up with Derek. I've got that wrong.
Yeah.
But from perhaps you've had conversation.
Well, they'll both fight again this year. That's what will happen.
This year.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is a rematch on the cards, you think, or not?
I don't know. Some people. I'm sure it was an exciting fight, but that's not something we've talked about with them yet. So before anything happens, we need to talk to both the guys.
Okay. Well, you mentioned Moses Itauma there. He was at the Arsenal game with yourself and Joe Joyce. They had a head-to-head picture that went out, and I think it was on Moses' Instagram. It said something like "friends or foes?" ?
Yeah.
Which drummed up a lot of interest. Something that has drummed up much more interest, actually, is you revealing that Moses really wants to fight with Joseph Parker.
Yeah, he's asked me about that. We talked about it, and Francis, my son who manages him, that's been a conversation we've had. he fancies the fight big time.
Has he said why?
Fancies he can beat him
But did he say why particularly Joseph Parker?
because he thinks he can beat him.
In terms of Joe, obviously you work with him, Gold Star heavily involved with him as well. Has there been actual talks about him and Moses?
No, not yet. No, not at all. Not at all.
Just say Spencer and Gold Star said, yeah, we're happy to do that. You'd put Moses next with Joseph Parker, yes?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That would be some statement from yourself and Moses. If it's not Joseph Parker, that picture went out with Joe Joyce. Is that something, do you think Joe and Adam would entertain?
I don't know yet. I mean, I've got to be honest here. I've not sort of really considered that. And as I say, with Joe Joyce, I know I've got to sit down and have a chat with him. But the reason to talk about Joe Parker is, he's the interim champion. But, Big Bang, he wants his rematch. He called on the rematch, so we'll see.
With Moses, though, are you glad early on in his career at the moment, especially as a heavyweight, that these kind of names, major names in world boxing, are being linked with him?
Well, look, it's good, but the thing is, he beats one of them, then it's what you do afterwards. And you've got to sort of, factor in the fact that I keep saying, he's 19 years of age. And in some ways, he's still not, he's not matured as a man yet. I'm talking about physically and as a fighter. So he's still got a way to go. But where he is at the moment, he's in a good place. And I'll tell you what, when I do talk to him, when I spoke with Francis, both of them, they are like-minded about certain fights that they would like to do now.
Did you go for lunch with Eddie recently?
Say again?
Did you go for lunch with Eddie recently, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you speak about the Johnny Fisher fight with Moses, or?
No, we didn't actually. No, we didn't. But that's another one. I think that'd be a great fight to make.
Okay. Do you think Johnny Fisher would take that fight, though?
Don't know. Let's see.
Well, you can bring it up with Eddie at your next lunch.
I'll do that.
Did you talk a lot about boxing, or was it other things?
Yeah, mostly boxing. Yeah, of course it was. Yeah, it was just to catch up to see where we are. There's talk of doing the 5v5 again, and that's another thing that is of great interest, certainly to him and certainly to me. That's for sure.
I'm sure it is to you. Still got that parading around behind you, that glove.
It's a trophy.
You mentioned Zhilei Zhang, your Chinese heavyweight. His Excellency has reiterated that he wants to make Zhang v. Bakoli either in China or Africa. I mean, when you imagine that fight, two specimens, Zhang and Bakoli, two of the biggest punchers.
Yeah, we'll see. But he's got a rematch clause at the moment, and that's something we've got to deal with.
Is there a time limit on when that decision's got to be made?
Yes, he's called it on. So it's something we've got to sort out.
Right.
One way or another.
Okay. Frank, it's a year and a day to that fight with Usyk and Dubois in Poland.
Yeah.
Time flies, eh?
It does. I mean, when you think about that one, where he is from there, from a year ago to where he is today, it's amazing.
Yeah, he has come on leaps and bounds, definitely in his mentality, Daniel Dubois. That's clear to see. Does it still, I know at the time it was really frustrating you, does it still get to you a little bit, what happened that night?
No, look, it's gone. But I think it's the making of him.
You think so?
Yeah, I think because after the fight, at the time, I was frustrated, obviously, what happened with the referee and so forth. And I was also frustrated in some ways the way that Daniel, in that fight, that he seemed to lose interest in the fight, and he got really swayed by, at times, with the referee, which he felt was biased, and he was biased. But like I said to him, at the end of the day, you're a young man. That's up to you to be your own referee. Because something don't go your way, you grit your teeth and you get on with it. And that's what he's done in his last couple of fights. He gritted his teeth and shown what he's all about, showed about his, not just the fact he can punch, that he can box, and he also showed that what he wants. That he really wanted to win those fights, and he was determined to prove to everybody that he was capable, and he's been capable of it.
If that fight was to happen today with Usyk and Dubois, and you said his mentality's changed, and the same situation happened, and the referee did exactly the same thing, do you think Daniel's mind would still have gone the same way?
I would hope so. I would hope it'd be different now, because you learn lessons in life. I mean, because somebody gets beat, it's not the end of the world. I've said that many times in boxing. It's how you get beat and how you deal with it if you get a defeat. And he's dealt with it well, and certainly in his last couple of fights, just in the press conferences and the round table stuff they do before fights, he's been totally different than he's been in the past. Whereas he'd sit there and just basically not say a lot, not be very communicative in getting into the crap talk, where he's sort of says what it is. And as I said to you, certainly in that thing he did with Ergovic, that's the first time I've ever heard him talk the way he talks, the swearing and everything. But he's done the business now. He's a dangerous, big punching heavyweight young man who really, really at the moment is in a good place mentally.
Who's had that conversation with him to change that, or has it just come about from himself?
No, I think we've all, as a team, we've sat down and everybody's a realist. You've got to say how it is. You can't, walk around on eggshells. Sometimes you've got to say, look, you want to do, if you want this is what you're going to have to do. This is what it's all about. And he showed that he does want it, and he showed what he's all about.
To be fair to him, especially in the fight game, it's like no other sport. People can change their mentality, but you'd think it'd take maybe 3-4 years. He's done it around instantly, actually.
But you've got to think of the level he's been fighting at. He's been fighting at a high level. You look at his record from the beginning, all the way. He's 26 years of age, and for the time he's been pro from a very young man, you look at the quality of the opposition he fought compared with a lot of the heavyweights who turned pro, who came in with quite extensive amateur pedigree and background. He didn't win he didn't fight no Olympic Games. He weren't old enough. He didn't go on no world championships, amateur world championships at a senior level. He wasn't old enough. But he's fought at a high level, and certainly his last few fights he's fought. I can't think of a lot of heavyweights who fought as such high quality opposition as he has.
Yeah, would you say he's coming off the two best wins in heavyweight boxing recently, Daniel Dubois?
Two unbelievable good knockouts, and two out of the three fighters. Three of them were undefeated. Usyk was undefeated. Miller was undefeated.
Hrgovic.
And Hrgovic were undefeated. He fought three undefeated fighters.
Yeah. Your old friend Tony Bellew was giving his opinion on this fight with Joshua and Dubois. I'm sorry to say, but it ends quickly and brutally, purely based on the fact that Dubois took 56 clean right hands in the first 4 rounds against Hrgovic, and you'll get away with 1 or 2 against Joshua, and then you know what happens. Dubois goes to sleep.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if that happens. Everybody's got their opinion. He's got his. I want AJ to be throwing those right hands, because when he does throw them, he's there to be countered, and that's when he'll get in trouble.
Do you think they'll both be very aggressive early on?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So you don't anticipate a chess match?
No, they've not got that mentality. And Joshua won't want to be on his back foot. That's for sure.
Okay.
And he did take those shots, those first couple of rounds. I mean, I didn't like to see that, but he took those shots. He took them.
But can he take them off Joshua?
We'll see who's got the best chin out of both of them. They're both big punchers. Let's see who's got the best chin. He's not been flattened by anybody. I mean, he went over against that fight, but I think that was more like, with a referee, there was no complaint. He weren't not flat out on his back or gone or anything. He's not taken a belting off of anybody.
So is that what Simon Jordan, you think, is referring to when he talks about when Dubois does land on Joshua, he may get PTSD from the Ruiz fight?
We'll see. I mean, look, he's 26. AJ's done it all. He's a gold medalist in the Olympics, the runner-up in the World Championships. He's 2-time world champion. He's got a wealth of experience. But you've seen him look vulnerable in a couple of fights, which he has done. He's coming off 2 good wins. Is it two or 3 good wins?
Wallin and Garner, yeah,
2
recently.
good wins, but they're not the same quality as in my opinion, as Daniel has. But the Ruiz fight, he didn't look so good in that, did he? Went on the back foot in that fight. When he won the fight, He was on his back foot. You've seen him in with Usyk. I think Daniel gave Usyk more of a problem than AJ did. He hurt him, certainly hurt him more than he did. And I look at the recent Ruiz situation with Miller, and look what Daniel done with Miller.
Is he the biggest puncher he's faced? Joshua, I'm talking about.
He's a very powerful puncher, not in one hand, in both hands. He's very powerful. But so's AJ. That's why it's so exciting.
Actually, both of them. It's the biggest punchers they've faced.
They're probably the two biggest punchers out there in the heavyweight division at that level, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And that's why it's such an exciting fight. But punchers, when they let their shots go, that's when they're there for the counter. And I don't mean if someone's going to throw a punch that's going to knock them over. It's the first hurtful punch, and how, when they do get hurt, how they react to it, and what's plan B going to be. That's, for me, is going to be the interesting and telling moment about the fight.
3.5 weeks to go till we actually reach fight week, and I mean the anticipation is already fever pitch. His Excellency and Riyadh season have announced that they've put in an application, try and break the record, eh?
We'll see. We see what they say, and if they let us have it, then we will. But all the general admission tickets are gone. There's some hospitality, some platinum tickets, very few amount of those involved. But hopefully they will allow us to get extra capacity in there. It's all about the safety element of it, and if they do, terrific.
Of course, the last one, you've actually got the bottle behind you. That was for 94,000 people at Fury
Breaking the record,
right?
yeah, for any event now.
But of course, you guys are pushing and sounds like very close to breaking this record. If that does happen, His Excellency Riyadh season, you guys, everyone involved in the show, that's an amazing achievement if that happens.
Well, it's a fabulous achievement. The fact that it's such it'll be the biggest event to ever take place at Wembley. If that happens at the moment, it's Tyson v. Dillian.
I think Adele might have the first one, I think.
No.
Did Tyson break it?
Generated more. Let's read it. It's the highest grossing event to ever take place there.
Wow. Okay.
460,000 people were in the queue to buy tickets. Sold out straight away.
If that, even if the record doesn't get broken, but as I said, it looks like it will. It's not a bad debut for Riyadh season in the United Kingdom.
Well, of course it's not. I mean, look, it's always nice to break records. Records are there to be broken, and we'll see. But one thing's for sure, we've got to get the consent. I think we get the consent, then I think it would be quite possibly that will happen.
Okay, great stuff. Liam Gallagher's obviously set to perform on the night.
Yeah.
What have you made of the news recently? Well, just today.
Well, it'd be nice, for the Oasis fans to see him do that. It'd be fabulous to see them back together again. I know them both, and they're two good fellas. I'm glad the brothers are getting on. Yeah,
absolutely. Announced a massive card and a big main event at the M&S Arena in Liverpool on October 5th. Nick Ball v Ball-Rios.
Should be defending both belts there, to be quite honest. But a homecoming for him with a fabulous undercard of a lot of the local guys up there. Andrew and some of the boys, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a tremendous night.
We've got coming up on September 6th, Sam Noakes defending his EBU title. Sam is one of the hottest prospects, definitely in British boxing.
Another big puncher. And last time out, he showed that he was capable of his boxing skills and going the distance and beating a very, very good fighter and done it. I thought in great style. He's a tremendous fighter. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that.
How close are we to this fight with Mark Chamberlain?
I think that'll happen. I think that'll be built up, and I think that'll happen next year sometime. It's a massive fight with the both of them. Mark's on the card, as you know, on the 21st at Wembley. So that's a brilliant fight. Everybody would want to see that.
Absolutely. Talking about big punches and big shots, reflecting on that fight a couple of weeks ago with Denzel and Derek, peach of a shot from Denzel Bentley.
Peach of a shot. That's why Eubank don't want to fight him. But it was a peach of a shot. And again, it shows you, you can't, you can turn your career around. A loss is not the end of the world. You can turn your career around. fighters can do that. It's how you deal with it, how mentally you deal with it, how much you want it, and that sorts the men out from the boys.
How do we go about this situation at middleweight now? Because if you take Chris Eubank Jr. out of the equation for the minute, you've got Hamza Shiraz, Denzel Bentley, Brad Pauls, Nathan Heaney, world champion in Janabek. How are you manoeuvring this, Frank? How are you going to do this?
We're making fights. That's what we do. We've been making fights for our guys, and that's what we'll do. There's some fabulous fights to be made there between all of them. No doubt about that. Fabulous fights.
To be fair, Hamza's got to get through Tyler Denny, though.
Yeah, he's got to get through him, and you know, and that's his fight to lose.
If he does the business, would you be happy with doing Hamza and Denzel next?
Denzel or for the title. But Denzel's number 2. He's number 1 in the WBO. Maybe that becomes a final eliminator. Who knows? But there's some great fights to be made there.
But you believe you've got the 2 best middleweights in the country?
I think so. In this country, yeah.
Would they both stop you back?
And let's see what happens with Nathan, how he comes back. And let's see what happens, you know, with Paul as well. I mean, you know, it's just all buzzing and it's all happening. And we've got to get them all out. They got to get out as well, and they're going to show what they're all about.
Do you think both of your guys in Hamza and Denzel would stop Chris Eubank Jr. if they fought?
I fancy him big time to beat him. I've never been a big fan. I'm not being disrespectful, but you know, I don't go with this next generation of a 34-year-old.
You're not impressed against Liam Smith in the rematch?
I would. The first fight, I thought Liam done extremely well. The second fight, he didn't look like he was at the races. And Liam is on that show, by the way. He's got to get it together, you know, because he just didn't look right to me. Whether he was or he wasn't, I don't know, because I wasn't involved in his preparation or the fight. But he certainly didn't look it on. And Eubanks did well, by the way. You know, he did what he had to do. I'm not going to take anything away from him about that. But you know, these are the young guys. These are the youngsters that are there and chomping at the bit and want to fight him.
Okay. Just had a conversation with George off camera before we started this, and he gave me some good news. November 2nd, he said we can say this: Liam Davis and Shabazz-Masoud, Frank.
We are, which is a cracker, isn't it?
One of the best fights of British boxing.
That's a great should have happened. And again, 2 really good fighters. Liam's an outstanding fighter, there's no doubt about it. When you think, you know, how quickly he's won all these different titles the traditional way. And Masoud, great performance he put in last time. You know, Liam come off his injury. So it's going to be another, I think that's going to be an electric night, there's no doubt about that.
Be electric build-up as well between the 2 of them.
Yeah. I don't think there's any, I can tell you, standing between them and those face-off, there certainly was no love lost there.
Yeah, you might need to get extra security in for that one for the fight week. Frank, look, yeah, I think that's it from me. Anything else you want to add?
No, just exciting times, and I'm going to announce a signing in the next few days, which is I'm really, really excited about.
Okay, so I'll see you in a few days.
You certainly will.
All right, Frank. Appreciate your time, and yeah, I'll speak to you in a couple of days when you have that major signing done.
Cheers, my son.
Thank you.